We don't have a quorum, but it doesn't matter. No votes will be taken. Hello.
How are you?
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. It's midnight.
Wow, time to go home.
It's noon. It's 6:38. With roll call, please.
Councilman Arnone, Councilman Bosco, Councilman Crowley,
Wait.
Oh,
No Crowley.
Oh, wow.
Do you have the wrong list?
Ooh,
I got the wrong list.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Ouch.
Wow.
Well, let's see who's here.
Awkward moment.
I'm here. You certainly are.
And we miss you, Pat.
I had deja vu, and I'm like,
I'm telling
I
you.
like that.
I know, we miss Pat.
Gina, sorry, according to that list, you're not.
Yeah, well, there is a surprise.
Nora's Donna,
Oh,
right?
yeah, and back to work.
Yeah, like, hey, I can leave now, right?
Councilman Edgar is not here. Councilman Hall,
Here.
Mayor Copeland.
Here?
Deputy Mayor Lee.
Here.
Councilman Mangini. Councilman Stokes. Councilman Suzak.
Here.
Did I get everybody?
Denny,
Yes.
absent.
Is absent.
Denny is absent.
But thank you so much, and I do apologize.
So,
We have 5 members present. Is that absent?
5 members present.
There will be
Okay.
people
Bosco
coming in.
will be here. We don't need 6.
Denny and Arnone will be here in a little while as well.
Okay. So our first budget review is human resources. Steve Belinda,
Yes.
the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Belinda. I'm the Director of Human Resources for the town of Enfield. And moving right along, our mission statement is to provide quality customer service in the area of benefits and personnel administration, labor relations, training, safety, and employee assistance programs to town employees, departments, and the public. And our org chart is currently myself, Director of HR, then I have 1 personnel administrator and 1 benefits administrator, and then recently we got a part-time person who is a former graduate of, I think, Fermi High School, and she's going to Westfield College. She's a student intern majoring in human resources, so she's been invaluable to our department and doing all kinds of stuff, and we're helping her, educate her, and with experience. So she's been a real asset. All right, these are our objectives we have for 2014, 2015. We're winding down labor contract negotiations. We have 4 contracts that are open. One of them's professional and technical and supervisory. Those are going for a vote on April 29th. Police contract, we're wrapping up the TAs, that's moving forward. And also the 1029 contract, public works, that's also moving forward. I just sent the revised version of it. So I'll be coming to you in the next couple of months with those contracts to bring it to a vote. One of the other objectives is implementing software, so our department can go totally paperless for applications. That will save paper, but it'll also make it a more efficient process. So if someone doesn't have a computer at home, we have a kiosk outside the office. They can go and fill out an application that way. The library has computers. There'll be no reason why anyone can't fill out an application electronically. And hopefully we can do this through our current software that we have, Munis. I think we can, and we're gonna try to make it work, but if not, we can always get an external software. Implement open enrollment, that's coming up for non-union employees. We have to change the platform for the HSA program, and we may be doing it also for the police, depending on the vote. So we're getting ready to ramp up for that. That'll be June. This is one of my things I had on last year, but drafting an RFP for actuarial services and pension advisors / investment services. The reason why it didn't happen is because I needed to rely on our administrator, pension administrator, for contract negotiations, and they have historical data, they have a lot of information I was relying on, so I kind of postponed it, but there'll be no excuse for me not to get it done in the next coming year to do the RFP process.
Noted.
What's that?
Said noted.
Next is conduct a wage salary survey. I still have to discuss that with Matt further as far as what positions we want to target. We kind of did an informal one with the police union, and he put some money in there in my budget to see if we can expand on that and target some other positions. So we'll see how that goes. And then, as always, maintain the same high level of customer service for all employees and the public. The HR budget breakdown. Salaries are, they went up a little bit from last year as you guys approved, raises for non-union. My benefits went down, and the reason why it went down is because going to an HSA program, we saved about $10,000. Two of my employees are non-union, and now that they're converting to the HSA program, that's gonna save town money. Also, I shaved off money in unemployment compensation. Looking at where we're trending, actually this year was a really good year, and I'm hopefully, knock on wood, gonna give back $100,000 to the town that I didn't use for unemployment. We had a one-time windfall because, without mentioning names, we had someone that was not qualified to receive unemployment, and we challenged it, and they gave us a credit of $22,000. So that helped us carry forward a larger balance. So I'm happy to say that, and next year, unless, I don't anticipate a lot of, terminations or layoffs, I chiseled away, another $20,000. Professional and technical, that went up because that's where we put the money for a salary survey, a wage and salary survey. So we put it under professional services. Other purchase services, that went down a little bit. And the reason why is because of advertising. I'm not putting as much money into advertising as I needed to because this past year we went to a program called Police App, which is through the state. And that, I don't have to spend money for advertising now. Now, candidates pay money to belong to this one central application process, and we let the applicants know that, yes, we're willing to hire you, and then they seek us out. It costs us nothing. I don't have to run written tests. I don't have to run agility tests anymore. So that it's been invaluable. We've had 8 openings this year, and I was able to ramp up and fill out, I think, just about all the spots. Jen was just today down at the PD getting her last position interviewed. So supplies, it went down a little bit, and the reason why it went down is because I don't have to buy food anymore for all those police officers I had to feed when we did the testing process. So that helped us. Other is just it went up a little bit because of subscriptions. I guess our drug testing company, there's a membership fee I wasn't aware of, so that went up a little bit. But overall, the budget is $454,151, and it crept up a little bit because of the wage survey. But other than that, though, I think it's a pretty responsible budget. And that concludes my budget presentation. Any questions?
Questions for Steve? Gina?
On our large binder on P79, salaries total $221,124. On what we got today, salaries total $214,933, which is what is in your budget presentation. So I am confused as to where the difference is.
It's the part-timer, I think.
Is it the part-timer?
The page?
Yep. That.
P79?
Is it about $8,500 difference? 'Cause that's what the
Yeah,
part-timer is.
that was not, well, there is
Oh,
a
no, it's the
part-time in there
stipend.
though. Part-time is on,
It's the stipend.
the stipend is different?
It's not included on the position summary.
Right, it's not, the stipend's missing.
All right, so the stipend was not included on the one we got today or the one in your presentation?
It's listed in the accounts on page P79, but it's not included on the position summary.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't include the stipends on most of them.
Where should it be included?
Where should it be?
Right, well, it was included here and not here, so where should it be included?
It should be included in the accounts,
Mhm.
and we don't normally include it on these.
Okay. But am I just not understanding why that number then, I understand the number that he's presenting as salary is different than what we have here, so really, when we're talking salaries, this stipend should be not on what we have, it should be kind of deleted.
We don't typically include it.
As a salary.
have
Okay.
a
'Cause
salary.
it's not part of their pay.
So where is it? It's not, I'm sorry.
It's under, on page 79, it's under salaries,
It's under
But
the
it
heading of
shouldn't be.
salaries.
but it's not,
It's under the heading of salaries.
but it's not their.
As a personnel cost.
Right.
But it's not in salaries because it's not attributed to an
position.
individual. Okay.
Right, because it's why don't you explain the non-union versus union aspect of it?
It's the cafeteria benefit for the non-union folks. It's 3.5%
No, it's a
of their
good question.
salary.
Okay,
So-
I don't really mean to be difficult, and I'm not trying, so maybe I'm just not understanding. Here and there, on his presentation,
Could you put that
it's
slide?
salaries. Salaries on this book here does include the stipend. Salaries up there does not include a stipend.
Right. He's probably got it in, oh no, he doesn't have it in benefits.
He doesn't
I think
have it in the
did-
benefits.
He just left it off.
Oh, the stipend?
Yeah.
But on his total budget's 454, 151. This total budget, which includes the stipend, is 454, 151.
It's-
So what am I missing?
It's
You're
just-
you're not missing anything.
Right.
He just omitted the stipend from the salaries. on
Okay,
there.
so if I added his column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 up, it actually wouldn't come to 454,
Correct.
151.
Right, right.
So that's not correct.
Right.
Yeah, I don't include stipend as part of the salary.
Okay,
But,
which is fine, I just didn't know why my numbers didn't match
Right.
your numbers.
Okay.
But my salary numbers were different.
That intern in here.
I'll blame it
Your
on
math.
Sorry about that.
No, that's, I was not understanding.
Did it answer your question?
That it should be up there,
Yeah,
yes.
and then it would add all the way across.
Then
Right.
it would equal the
Yeah.
450, which is right here.
Right.
Okay. For
And then-
now I'm good.
And did you have any questions on the reason for the stipend?
It's, what were you talking about, it was non-union stipend?
It-
Yeah, it's called a cafeteria plan where employees get a certain percentage, up to 3% of their salary, and they can apply it towards a flexible savings account or the
Right.
457 plan.
I
It's
think
not-
I asked this question on one of the previous
Yeah,
budget
yeah, okay.
presentations, what the stipends were for.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Donna? Did you have
I
a
just
question?
want to know if the intern is a paid intern.
Yes, she's, yep,
That's what I wanted to hear.
yeah.
Questions for Steve? Anyone else? Okay,
All right, thank you all.
you're all set?
Have a good, happy Easter.
Unfortunately, the police are up there right now. Actually, when they went to make the call, they were driving through the parking lot, so.
Okay. There's some kids up on top of Higgins.
Top of Higgins?
Yes,
On the roof?
They'll do anything
Yeah,
to those
on the
skateboards, huh?
on the roof. Yeah,
Jesus.
on the roof. But they're stupid enough to post pictures
Oh, my God.
on Instagram and Facebook, and a parent sent it to me, so.
Wow.
Well, good thing.
Um,
we
Not
got-
stupid,
Recreation.
Mike, but they're,
I
you know.
called the cops the other day because, I think it was Monday or Tuesday, because there must have been 13 kids on bikes while crews were at Higgins, and they rode their bike right into the back.
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
Thanks, Steve.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
We now have recreation. Recreation, right?
Way in the back.
It's its own fun, isn't it?
Yeah, I must have been really tired.
You should have right here, rec.
Yes. That one moves
Yep, that one moves
forward, the other one moves
Okay.
back.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Mary Keller, I'm the recreation supervisor. With me is Allison Alberghini Durler, who's the assistant recreation supervisor. So for our budget, there's our Camp Tons of Fun. Our mission statement that we seek to provide quality leisure opportunities which contribute to the environment, needs, and interests of the residents of Enfield. Recreation is recognized as a necessary service to the community and an integral part of Enfield's health and welfare. And our purpose is to provide participants with a fun and satisfying program in a safe environment. So this year when we met with Matt and Derek and Courtney, we had an interesting conversation. We went in with our normal status quo budget and we were challenged to grow the recreation department, which we gladly accepted. We're very excited to do that. So in that process, we had to stop and rethink what we did and what we were going to do and how we were going to move forward. And the three areas that we feel are important are staff, programs, and facilities. So under staff, on the left are our current positions as you see them in the budget book. So myself, the supervisor, Allison as the assistant supervisor, and the secretary. However, our secretary left to go to another department at the end of August, and Allison and I have been by ourselves since then till about a month ago, when we picked up an intern who has graduated from Elms College, and he has a degree in
Sports and leisure management.
Yeah, okay. And different titles, different schools. And so he's been working with us about 30 hours a week for the last month, and we just recently picked up a temp secretary last week. And both of those positions are there to guide us through the summer during our very busy time. That there is no way Allison and I could do everything that we do plus what they do through the summer. So currently in the budget, that's what we have in this fiscal year. What we're proposing is that we pick up a program coordinator who's going to work 40 hours, who's going to work solely on programming. Grow our programs, bring more opportunity to us. And in doing that, we felt that we could reduce the secretary's hours to 19 and a half based on what is actually clerical and what we do, or what the program coordinator would do. Also within that, we have put together a new pay scale for seasonal employees, which we had discussed last year. The seasonal pay scale has not changed since July 2008. So we put together a new pay scale, which is with HR, and as things progress, HR will be bringing it to you for approval. And we went through all of our seasonal positions, eliminated things that weren't current anymore, added new things in, and made it so we could make it attractive to bring quality instructors in. So instead of offering a yoga instructor $12 an hour when they could make $60 somewhere else, we've adjusted that pay scale to try to attract those types of instructors. Also with minimum wage, we needed to go up. We went from $8.25 to $8.70 this year. It'll go up to $9 next year. A lot of our positions will be at minimum wage, but a lot of them require other backgrounds, such as a lifeguard. So that's reflected in the new pay scale. So the second part of that thought process is programming, and Allison's going to discuss that with you because she's been working on that.
Okay. Our goal with programming is to increase program offerings and increase our visibility in the community so people know that we're here, that we have lots of great programs for them. First, with the increased program offerings, we are looking to expand and extend existing programs, offering them in additional seasons that maybe a sport isn't traditionally offered, but we have residents who are interested in playing year-round. We are looking to survey the community about what they're interested in that maybe we're not offering, or that they're traveling out of town to participate in. And we would do that through current participants and then through surveys on the website and out at special events. identifying partnerships where somebody has a service in town that they're looking to attract more participants in their recreational offering, and that we can offer so more people know about the programs. Working with community organizations, businesses, to attract bigger customer bases, and soliciting new instructors to teach in-house through that more attractive pay scale. And then increasing our visibility in the community. We are working on that now. Our intern is doing a great job with our social media. We're updating Facebook and Twitter on a very regular basis. We are working with the webmaster over in IT to revamp our website, and we're hoping that we will have that up and running in the middle of May. Working on a new logo with IT for the department, so it's on our website, and then it will be on our promotional materials, as well as we've purchased some signage that people will see at events that we are at and our events that we host. We are having more of a presence at community events that maybe we're not sponsoring. We'll be at Earth Day, we're looking to be at Family Day, those type of events where we have a booth with our recreational materials and the type of information, types of things that we offer through that information. And then we're looking to sponsor new events, new special events, so families come out and they get to see what we're all about for the first time. Demo classes we've started, and those have attracted a lot of new interest. And then hopefully an open house at the activity center so people can come in and meet us and visit us and see what we're all about. So that's how we are looking at growing programming.
One partnership that we have discussed, especially after Courtney's initiative, is working with Bigelow, and I will be in contact with them shortly to see if we can work with them to either have their residents come to our programs, or if we can bring something to those residents, since they are our neighbors right behind us. So the last piece of that puzzle is facilities. Yesterday, Courtney talked about a lot of great things that we just would love to be part of: hiking trails, the bike path, the walking, the whole thing. Freshwater Pond, I put together an RFP for boating on the pond recently, and that is at the town attorney's office for approval. Parks, I know that there's other things going on. There's some interest in adding some amenities at Brainerd Park, and we've been somewhat involved in that and would like to continue with that. At the activity center, if you've been by, you've seen that the two houses behind us have been taken down. That's now open space, and we're very excited to see how that's going to play out as to we're going to get more parking, what we're going to do with the open space. We'd love to be part of that. Our building itself inside, Tom Arnone, through his Kids First program foundation, has been renovating the kitchen, and it's getting near completion, so that will be operational, and we'll be able to offer programs that we have had in the past, like cooking, and that the youth center will be able to use that. The hallway floor, I believe, is on the CIP project list for July 1. It needs asbestos remediation, so that is in a CIP project. Our goal is that once that's done, Matt has challenged me on that as well, to try to beautify inside so it doesn't look like, as Elsa and I call, hospital white walls, blue trim. Try to make it a little more attractive, and trying to do something with the grounds, trying to make that more attractive. We are part of Thompsonville. We'd like to be part of that revitalization. We'd like to see more people use our building, and I think that if we can do stuff inside and outside, and we have more parking, it would be a lot more attractive for people to come and do programs with us. Over the last few years, we've lost a lot of participants who will not come to our facility especially at night. So if we can do those things that everybody's been talking about, I think that would attract more people to come to us and we could add in more programming. We work with the public schools a lot on facilities. We will continue to do that. The relationship has gotten much better over the years. We use almost all of the gyms during basketball season. We have 600 kids that play in our program from 1st grade through 12th grade. We had the conversation about the pools when you did your walkthrough. We use both of them now. We'd love to continue to use both of them. I had an interesting conversation with AJ O'Brien recently in regards to JFK. They'd like to bring swimming back into the PE classes, and he was asking me if we could help him out with getting his staff certified, and myself and another lifeguard on our staff are certified instructors, so I told him we would be happy to work with his staff to get them certified so they could teach PE again during, or they could teach swimming again during PE. And then we've been using more classrooms for yoga, Zumba, our adult type programs. So we would continue to work with them. The issue with that is competition. We compete with other town programs, adult ed,
Private
the
groups.
yeah, the top of my head, I can't, there was one other group I can't, adult ed and,
After school program.
Board of
after-school
Assessment
programs.
Appeals?
Upstairs. Tom's Deal.
So we compete with other town departments. We compete with outside organizations, private groups, for that space. So sometimes it makes it difficult because we may have something planned and then find out that the school department has a function and we have to rearrange our schedule to accommodate that if we don't know that in advance. And then lastly, the community center. Obviously, we would love to see that happen and we'd love to be part of that. We've met with the architect and have worked on an area of Fermi that would be of use to us, that would be strictly recreation, and then shared areas like the gym, the pool, the cafeteria, along with the other town groups that are gonna be in the building. So, we have lots of ideas. We're looking for more ideas. We are looking for more staff. We are looking to expand our facilities, and we're looking to expand our programs. So we're very excited to take the challenge and move forward. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
Could-
Thank you.
Could I
Matt?
just, a couple things real quick. When it, maybe going back, you don't have to go back,
Okay.
but to the very first slide about growing the department, I would change that just a little bit.
Okay. Sure.
And the intent is not to grow the department, but to grow the opportunities that the department can provide to the residents. Because I think that's what, as we look at going forward and what we've done this, thus far, we have throttled back on Mary and Allison's ability to provide the best recreation in the state of Connecticut. And I think, every year we go through this budget process, I think, and why she said it was a surprising discussion, it was always cut back. Don't come in with anything additional. And she does that religiously every year. We didn't say go hog wild, just spend money right and left. If you look, the increase over the current year's budget is not that large. We're getting a lot more. The second piece is what this doesn't take into consideration is the revenue that will come from that a lot more. And so that's something that, we just didn't feel comfortable trying to guess what that could be without knowing, what those programs are going to be. So there is, in this, I think it's built in that we're going to get more revenue than what we're projecting because of that. Just wanted to set the stage for what comes from your questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the extra 24.5 hours that we would get based on adjusting the staffing, or adjusting the staffing, you're gonna get an extra 24.5 hours that are gonna be dedicated to programming. And the difference in that budget proposal would be just shy of 20,000 to get that for the year. And that includes benefits if the person had a family. If the person didn't have a family, then obviously it would be less.
That's in the budget.
That's in the,
Correct.
that's in the budget. And then the other portion of that is, last year we spent approximately 150 out of the 230,000 in our program budget. And we brought back 191,000 in revenue, and as of today, we have 182,000 in revenue, and we haven't finished out this year. So our goal is to keep our program our program budget at 230, spend that extra from 150 up to 230 with new programs, bringing in more revenue, and we did a rough estimate of 56,000 in surplus. Last year we had 36,000 in surplus, so.
Great, thank you. Questions? Gina?
I think you've touched upon what one of my questions was gonna be, so I'll ask it sort of two-part. You talked about offering more programs, expanding the programs that you already have existing. Can you tell us what your thoughts are on what programs you're gonna increase? And is what you have proposed in the budget, and I think you were answering this when you said you're gonna have an increase in revenue and sort of to use the surplus that you had, are you going to be able to offer more with the staff that you have on and the staff you have budgeted for in this proposed budget?
Okay, the second part is we budgeted 230,000 to run programs. Last year, we only spent 150,000 of it.
Right.
So we still have that 80,000 to bring in more programming. So by bringing on that extra staff person, the hope is that we're gonna fill that gap. If we got to the 230,000, then we could ask for the surplus revenue to then be transferred into the fund. We haven't done that yet, because we haven't gotten to that point. Some of the programs, and Allison can hit on more if I don't get them all, we could have certain things all year round. We could run basketball all year round.
To
You know,
maybe answer that,
okay.
that part just a
Sure.
little bit clearer, the way most of our programs are run are not by the full-time staff.
Right,
So-
seasonal in town.
Right, so, the thought is, and the philosophy has been that those programs pay for themselves. So, upstaffing for programs, additional programs, will already be part of the cost that we're gonna be passing on to the resident or the participant, so.
Right.
So,
That was sort of my question.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be an extra cost if we're gonna have to hire more people for the additional program, which I'm all for. More programming is wonderful. I just wanted to make sure whatever's proposed here is gonna be able to support the increase in programs that you want. And it sounds like it is, because the programs will generate the revenue that pays for the people. Okay. And I'm sorry, the second
That's
part?
sorry,
okay.
you're, go ahead.
Was actually the.
Oh, I mean, we have programs that we could run all year. If we could offer basketball all year, people would love that. And basically now we do, Allison's expanded the adult basketball and volleyball, beyond the normal seasons. Swimming has been a difficult one, and we're working on trying to attract more lifeguards to stay with us throughout the year and not just work with us in the summer. We could have swimming all year. There's a lot of other programs, adult programs, that we could offer. We used to do a lot of preschool programs, and with the economy and full day kindergarten, some of that has scaled back, and we'd like to start bringing that back. That would have to be more late afternoon, evening, that type of thing. We get requests for sewing classes and cooking classes and things that aren't your traditional recreation. So it's finding a staff person to run that program is the challenge.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gina. Carol?
A lot of mine are more capital projects, and I apologize, didn't bring my capital budget with me. Is there any money in the CIP budget for renovating of the skate parks?
No.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, I think there is money, or there's at least a budget number for that in there, if I'm not mistaken, but it wasn't put forward as part of my budget.
Okay, so, my next question is, do we have any idea on what the cost would be to bring those parks back? I mean, they're, the ones, like, for example, I don't see a lot of the one here in Thompsonville, but I know the one in Green Manor, the kids are out there all the time, every day. So, and it's a wreck. It's a mess. So,
They're about 10 years old.
yeah, maybe even a little older, because I remember when we put them up, I was on the council,
Yeah.
so.
The last time I was asked to look into that, it was probably last year, and at that time, it was at least 50,000 per park.
Now,
Easy.
now,
Minimum.
the one in Thompsonville, we talked about doing that after the fire station was done, because there was supposedly money coming from them on that, correct? Like, we were utilizing some of the money that we took for the land to adjust that park. I know we
yeah.
had talked about it when we did the whole firehouse deal. That was brought up because we talked about it in great detail. So, I guess, for me, I would love to see us do something. We closed the one over by Parkman, and that one was utilized.
That one got moved over here.
Right, but we closed that side of town down entirely, so I don't wanna lose the one in Green Manor. So personally, and, you know, we can talk about this when we start putting things on the board, I'd like to see some money added in for that. That, I think it's an accident waiting to happen up there, they're just really in bad shape. So that answers my question there. You touched on another part of the question, the swimming program. If you're looking to expand, that's one thing I get a ton of feedback on from people is more swimming, more swimming, more swimming. So, I guess, just general question, what is the enrollment, I'm guessing you're gonna tell me none, from out of town on the swimming program, because I know when we get calls, it's always from local residents saying it's full, it's full, it's full, it's full. So I'm guessing we have probably zero enrollment from out-of-towners on our swimming programs, right?
This spring, we only opened it to residents, and they are full.
Okay, good, that was.
In the summertime, we will take non-residents because we do more programming in the summer. We do 3 sets of 2-week swim lessons in the morning at the activity center and at JFK, and then another set of lessons at night. So we have the ability to open it up, and we've rearranged those swimming lessons to accommodate more people and make sure that they're full, and that some of those classes in the past have only had a couple. So we've moved them around to make sure that we are targeting the need that's out there, the beginners, the minnows, the tigerfish, that younger age group, those beginner swimmers. So, and we are offering a lifeguarding class at the end of the summer.
Really?
Yes,
That might help,
Mm.
yes.
for
Interesting.
the expansion.
I gotta
Pass
start.
it
that chapter in my
around.
life away a long time ago.
So I'm glad to hear that you're expanding the programs, that's great, and
Swimming would be one that we would absolutely love.
Yeah.
This year, unfortunately, out of our 15 lifeguards, all but one that were in college went away, that couldn't come home on the weekends. The ones that used to come home on the weekends are RAs this year and couldn't come home. So
Yeah.
I can't force them, but we've had some fabulous people in the past that have been willing to come home on weekends to teach for us. So we are hoping that they will be able to do that again.
And advertising, I haven't looked on our website, but are we got them on there already, the lifeguards for the positions, or?
Yep,
No?
14 of my 15 from last year are coming back.
Okay.
Cool.
And I'll be hiring more.
Good, awesome.
If I
and-
could, one big aspect is going to be the pay for that. I think if we elevate that, especially outside of the summer, we can then, I'm gonna say, non-traditional
Mhm.
lifeguards, like Bill, hopefully, will come back, but, we
Part-time
can.
job.
If I could qualify.
We can, we can attract, kind of the year-round residents that, again, may not think that that's, beneficial to them because, we're paying so low.
Right.
But if we're able to raise that, we might be able to get some interest there.
And that's something that has to be done incrementally too, because that cost then gets associated to the program, so the participant's paying for it. So you can't say, let's pay them $20, because then you have to raise the program fee to cover that, because all of our programs are self-sustaining, so.
And then the only other question I have, and I think I brought it up, and it's not really, it won't be in Mary's, but it goes to the playground situation, is have we made any progress in trying to get a water fountain out by the Lego park? I know our building and grounds were talking about looking at doing that last year. And I know the problem it created was where kids were running back and forth through the parking lot to the library.
Right.
And so just maybe having them take a look at getting the water fountain out
Yep.
there this summer. And then also the porta potties out there, because that was the other part of the library issue was that. And that park's utilized like crazy, so it's a great park, so. But I'm excited about the expansion. It's a long time coming, so that's
We're
great.
excited too.
Yeah, so other than that, that's all I have.
Thanks, Carol. Anyone else, questions? Recreation? So that picture of the pool,
Yes,
the yellow house
it's gone.
is gone.
Spy Tower's gone.
The
And the,
spy tower.
and the one next to it is gone.
Even the one to the left of that?
This one is gone,
Yeah,
and this
and
one
that
is
one's
gone.
gone.
And that's all green space now.
Now, we had a leisure services committee meeting 2 nights ago. And we talked about that park. And we asked Donald, right, both that park and we were meeting on Brainerd Park. But for that park, we asked them to get to you to start drawing up proposals as, what are we gonna do with it? We know we're putting in a parking lot up at the corner, and we have some form of a playscape there, a small one.
Right.
But what are we doing to make that usable for the summer? So I don't know if he's gotten to you yet.
He's been trying to stay away from me here the last couple of days.
Oh, because he's in
Higgins.
charge of Higgins.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes.
He couldn't run today, though.
Yeah. Now, and just for the council, from our leisure committee meeting, we talked about Brainerd and the proposal of Brainerd, and I think it came from you folks in Mark Gar that there's a big request for volleyball, outdoor volleyball. Maybe it came from Mark Gar then, so we were looking at moving.
Softball wants another field there. Yeah, softball.
Yeah, we didn't talk,
That's
yeah.
a different ball of wax.
Yeah.
And
This
then
was,
they,
this
and
was
then
a.
they were talking about the basketball court.
Right.
This was the discussion on the basketball court, 2 courts, 1 court, a court and a volleyball court, which has been identified at least by Buildings and Grounds as a big request, and they usually put it on the grass, and it tears up the grass. So, something
Were
will
they
be
talking
coming.
about having a sand court?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
There'll be one basketball.
Well, our volleyball program came back, well, it was gone for a while, and we brought it back last year, and it almost doubled in size this year, and then Allison ended up extending the open gym portion because we had such a request for that. And they would love to play it all year long, but the only 3 schools that have the stanchions for that are the 2 high schools and Eli Whitney. And we just don't have the ability to get into the high schools during their sports seasons,
Right.
so.
Outdoor one. having a larger community center, which you've got up there on your board, will, just think of the possibilities. Just think of all the extra work.
All the cultural activities you
You
can
can
just
just move
have.
Yeah.
Bunk beds.
Snack bar, all kinds of stuff.
And I know you address it, but any work that you can do in conjunction with the community revitalization efforts in Thompsonville, with the farmer's market that's being moved to where you guys are.
Well, we do the fishing derby and we do the children on the green, so we're gonna participate in Earth Day, and so we're looking at doing other things in that area as well as other locations, so. We've worked with Courtney on that, so.
So, exciting stuff. So, I don't have any other questions. Anyone else? So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go forth and recreate.
Go forth and recreate.
Very good.
Healthy recreation.
I don't know what she meant by that. Now I have a question.
Healthy recreation? Go ahead. What's your question?
Well, there's some recreational activities that may not be so healthy.
Did you have a question?
No,
No.
continuing.
They're being fresh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Nice.
you.
Next, we have Registrar of Voters. And I see that we have David Wawer with his trusty assistant Kelly.
Shy.
She's hanging out with Dad, right?
Well, she's the live demonstration related to some of the discussion.
Now, is Carol coming today?
I believe she's at some.
Yeah, she's
other
She's at
meeting.
where I'm not.
Yeah.
This time you in charge.
What were
That
they
goes
thinking?
forward, that goes-
I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Do I need a raise?
Welcome, David.
Thank you. Okay, the mission statement, as you all know, is to conduct just clean elections. And I can safely say that, well, Carol and I, working our 8 years together here, we've never had the controversies or problems in Bridgeport, which happen every year, or West Hartford, which happened last year or the year before. So we've managed to, at the end of the day, the complaints come to the mayor, and he feeds them to us.
Yes,
So
they do.
we kind of judge, were we successful or not by the number of
Indictments.
indictments. Okay. Okay, staffing, and I do not have a chart, but it's a word description. And this has been the structure of the registrar's office since at least 2004, long before I got here. So that's, and I believe, yeah, the temporary election workers that are hired, that number goes up or down depending on the type of election. Municipal, gubernatorial, and presidential each require different levels to respond to the flow of people coming in. Okay, this budget on the election worker side is budgeted to have 2 elections. We're anticipating a gubernatorial primary in August of 2014, and then the general election in November. We would like to, there are certain technologies that are already in place that we're, and I'll talk about them as we get into the numbers, that we would like to bring on board. And we also have some costs that are now built in that the state of Connecticut was paying since the beginning. And one of those is the scanner maintenance contract. And we plugged that in there, we've identified it, that's it's $200 times the number of scanners. So that's a cost the state of Connecticut has now placed on the cities and towns. We call it unfunded mandate, but that's coming this way now. Voter registration outreach. I should mention that Carol and I were at both Fermi and Enfield Highs on March 24th. We did something a little bit differently than in previous years. Because the state of Connecticut, the Secretary of State's office, has a new online voter registration program, we knew it worked because it had been launched 2 or 3 weeks before. I believe we were the first town, state of Connecticut, to have both our high schools have students enroll online that day. And with the Secretary of State there, she and her staff were able to get some interesting feedback from the students as they were registering to vote. Okay, the dollars, stipend is status quo. The equipment repair and maintenance, again, we've, I say unfunded mandate, that is the scanners primarily. Bullet point 3, electronic poll books. Something that leaders of both political parties would always like to know is who's voting. And from time immemorial, they've assigned people called unofficial checkers to come in and look, try and look over people's shoulders and figure out who's come to vote, so that their parties can make phone calls and do the like to generate voters. Well, electronic poll books it's already been used in 6 towns in the state of Connecticut. Both Carol and I have seen it in action. I watched it in a I think it was a budget referendum in Vernon most recently. Basically, we would lease for a couple weeks laptops, and this has all been costed out with IT, so that is the option we have to go as opposed to buying. We would purchase software for each of the 4 sites. The software is loaded onto the laptops. It is cloud software, it's website based, but we would then also, just prior to election, load onto the laptops for the respective sites the voter lists for those sites. And then when people check in, it's click, click, click. I watched a 70-year-old person, 2 70-year-olds, check in people in Vernon. It's fascinating. What's more fascinating is in the registrar's offices that can be linked to the website and watch the rolling totals of how many people are voting at each location. The numbers are refreshed every minute. You just have to click refresh. But let's go to the political parties, the candidates themselves. Candidates are running, they want to get people to the polls. In this system, and it's been used in again, 6 other towns, we would provide an access code, a passcode, to the 2 party chairs in this town. And they can have as many people there as they want on that laptop, and at their party headquarters. They would then be able to see who has voted at that moment. I mean, 10 a.m., 10:30, by street, and what's even more fascinating, those parties, they attach their computer to a printer, can print lists with the names of people, addresses, and telephone numbers, and go call them. I mean, it's a fascinating process. It will speed up. It speeds up registration. Ultimately, we think we'll be able to reduce the number of election workers. We have to test the system one time and see how it goes through an election. For example, though, we're considering, and again, it may or may not be, we have to look at it, but typically for gubernatorial, we would hire 6 to 8 checkers. That's a standard thing because you print books. But under having 2 laptops, you have 2 people and 2 backups. So they're always fresh for 16 hours and checking people in. May have a 5th, but that is kind of what we're envisioning. At the end of the night, when you want to know who's voted, how many people voted, instead of doing what we do, we will be able to see on the website that we're linked into how many people voted. All those numbers just come folding down. So it's a really neat technological enhancement behind the scenes. And that's what we've put in there. Now, there are election workers, I'll mention, I said state mandate. It's the minimum wage increase from $8.50 to $8.70. We pay most of our workers $8.50. And the council has to vote to make that change. A budget a year from now will have $8.70 to $9. again, because it's mandated, and then I think others are coming down. So this cost, even if you reduce election workers, the cost for the majority of the workforce is going up. So that's, okay, poll book technology. Okay, election day registration, bullet point number 3. That is something that the legislature mandated and was put into effect for the first time last November. We hired, and I have the deputy who managed election day registrations here with me tonight. Again, when we talked about enhanced work for the deputies, these are some of the kinds of things that as the state comes along with new ideas, we don't necessarily expand our workforce, we expand the time people spend on doing things, and because it's the process was more technological, computer-based, we had someone who understood that process pretty well, because and the person had to know, running the show had to understand how a voter registration takes place, and so we had to bring those people in to do that. Again, I guess long-term, it's how many can we identify new technology efficiencies that will offset costs, and the costs are state mandates typically. The minimum number of election workers per site is mandated by the state. It's prescribed in regulations, so we can't get away from those, unfortunately. What we've been able to do, if someone were to ask me what in 2008, when we had 9 sites, if we were presenting a budget for 9 sites, today it would be triple, just because of the mandates. I think that's it. Okay. I think I covered most of the deviations, scanners. Questions?
Thank you, Dave. Bill?
The, couple questions. The electronic poll book proposal that you're exploring, are you envisioning a pilot at one location, or?
That's not how it works. Well, no. We've seen it work already for an election. Both registrars have looked in separate instances. No, it could be tried, implemented at one site, but it wouldn't give the political parties the instant information.
That's
We
kind
have
of-
to do the whole thing.
It's kind of my second question, is it's the type of thing where I hate to see us make an investment for the exclusive benefit of campaigning. I don't know that alone is really your office's mission. If that's a byproduct of workforce efficiency that you're hoping to get out of it and increasing the process, then that's okay. But if that's the only thing if that's the strong benefit, okay, then I'd like to see that
I'll give you
share.
the answer to the question that I think you're asking. Typically, the administrative assistant spends anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 weeks or longer, or we supplement with deputies. The requirement of inputting into the voter list the names of the people who voted, that's a manual process. What this will do is the flash drives will be placed back into the administrative assistant's desktop, open up to the Secretary of State website, and they'll push a button. It'll be able to load all that information. So we're going to save several weeks of staff time just by that one action. And I say staff time, which we typically have supplemented. It's a half a person and then a part of someone else doing that, because there's a mandate. All that information has to be entered into the computer system by a certain date. So you don't have the luxury of not doing that. And then there are the other changes that occur. And you've all experienced it when people go to a voting site and they've moved, but they haven't notified us, and then they come in and there's a lot of paperwork involved afterwards in the office to correct that. even though it's done on books on election day, but this will allow that process to happen.
Does the secretary's policy allow you to eliminate the book at the polling site?
We would print it and have it there as a backup.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you that we were asking, let's say, those that control the legislature to approve change in state law that does not favor one over the other, printed over electronics. The Secretary of State's office would like to move in this direction. She supports legislation to kind of encourage towns to go to the electronic poll book process.
In the past, your office has charged a fee to a political campaign to get certain data or discs and so forth. Are you envisioning that being part of the poll book process, a fee for access?
On the poll book, the access to the voter database on election day is just, here's the passcode. You can go in and you can see what's happening, so you can make lists. No, the answer is no.
Okay.
In fact, I could ask the finance director, I'm not sure, when was the last time we had somebody pay a check? Maybe we did, but, you know, to get a list. I mean, we can charge 50 cents a copy, a piece of paper by town practice, but historically, we've not. I mean, I can attest that we've got lists that we're not.
Can you get us a demo or show us the product that you guys are evaluating at some point?
What we would have to find is a town that already has it in place, because we have not signed a service agreement.
Okay.
We don't have the laptops. We could, for, if any members of the council want to see it, we would just have to identify, again, there's 6 towns that used it last November. I believe you're gonna see an exponential increase, because into the, could well be over 100 cities and towns. I mean, we're talking some of the larger communities too are looking at this. They see significant time and staff cost savings during election and post-election.
Okay. General question, and I know you guys are already thinking about this. What are you forecasting for your Enfield High School polling location this summer and this fall?
I've already spoken to Randy Daigle. There's going to be no change. Everything he's described the process that's going on down there. Does not see anything inhibiting our ability to use that building.
This year.
This year.
We have not talked about the next fiscal year.
Okay.
But when the next fiscal year budget's done, we'll have probably a proposal, a new plan.
All right.
All set?
I think I am. Thanks, David.
When you say this year, you mean this fall?
Correct.
You don't
This-
think there'll be a problem this fall?
No, I've already spoken with the building committee chair. He's gone through the whole process with me.
That's it?
I have my reservations on that, I will voice them. I would like
Go
a
ahead.
clarification of the stipend and salary, because that, I always
Thank
get so
you. It
confused.
is
when you ask.
confusing.
Question.
Yeah, we're like very
Thank you.
confused.
I'm glad
I
you
know,
asked it, and I
Jim
didn't have to
didn't
ask the
wanna
same
ask it.
question a third time to different people.
Yeah, the town manager has kind of further defined, so you can all see clarity. The stipend is an amount to each of the 2 registrars by state law. The stipend is decided by the council. And that stipend, we're not requesting any increase.
No, and
No.
understand that through another process, we learned that that money needed to be accounted for differently than
Yes.
how we've been doing it in the past, so it's very clear that it's not a
salary.
wage,
Wage,
because
yes.
they don't receive a wage,
So
they
someone
receive.
can't collect unemployment
For instance.
For
And there's
instance.
no
For
Social
instance.
Security nor Medicare, that's why we're seeing zeros there.
Well, I think there's an issue with the Social Security
I may
and
have to-
Medicare. We were just talking about that. So I would like to check into that and see why those are zeroed out. It doesn't make sense to me, because we do have on the.
We have other employees.
Right.
But those, the
Yeah,
stipends do not, they're. they come
Correct.
on
Yeah, it's for an
1099.
it's for an elected official, that is correct.
So if Social Security and Medicare go up, will the stipend go down?
No.
No.
Stipends are independent, they're missing.
Yeah, I
they're-
think.
They're missing something.
For the part-time and seasonal, there will be Social Security and Medicare for those. But I need to go rebuild to see why those got zeroed out.
Okay.
It could have been that I didn't enter the numbers.
Right,
Well,
because there's
I'll
a
figure it out.
10,000, and
But
I don't
but
mean
they
to
wouldn't be
steal
the
your
same
question,
because
but
when
there's
you
a
pull out
$10,000.
stipend and you have part-time salary, it creates a different number in there, and,
There still should-
Right,
there
you're
should be
about
this-
13 or so $1,000
Yeah.
difference between what the stipend would be plus the part-time on what it was, or what it is now. Okay. You're gonna look into that, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at those two items and figure out what went on there.
But the increase in, so the 45 that's in the stipend line now was in the salary part-time line before.
Correct.
Right.
That's
So we
correct.
back out that 45.
Yep.
So that would be 23 is there, and it's now 30.
Mhm.
And that's to account for the second election.
Correct.
yeah, and you're paying, when you're
you.
paying deputies, you're paying them $15 an
Right.
hour, a fee
Yeah.
that you approved a
It's just
couple
the
of years ago.
difference between a municipal election year and a state
Yeah, well,
election
and,
year.
and just to be clear, I think a lot of that is found in the election workers. If you look, there's 25.5 being budgeted this year.
Yeah.
If you go back to the current year, it's 14.
14.5.
But if you go to the previous year, it's 24.
Mhm.
So, the dynamics, yeah, because of, so the dynamics that are all part of this, he's scaled up the number of election workers. He's increased, I think, on the salaries part-time, that's for extra time for the deputies.
Yes, that's
If I'm not
correct.
mistaken. And then you have the issue of the increase to the minimum wage
Yep.
mixed into all that as well. So those are the three components for the increases you see.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions on the registrar?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Great job, thank you, Dave.
Good to see you.
You can go back,
I
to
go
your
back
question.
You did a good job.
So,
Yes, I'm sure.
Good.
anything
I'm glad you
else?
did.
We don't have a need to go into executive session.
Correct.
We've completed our 3 items under budget. So is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Carol, seconded by Donna. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? We are adjourned.